Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steve Seepersod coming to you from the campus of Binghamton University on behalf of the Alumni Association. Welcome to today's program, How to Get Started in Volunteering. This is part of the Binghamton Learning Network webinar series. These programs are offered about once a month. They're meant to inform, engage, entertain, inspire, and we hope the content is something that resonates with you and helps you to live life in a more meaningful way. We offer quite a lot here at the Alumni Association to help you do just that. So check us out after the show at binghamton.edu/alumni to see all that we offer in terms of in-person and virtual events, lifelong learning programs, volunteer opportunities at the university, all sorts of ways for you to connect with alumni and with the university. binghamton.edu/alumni. Today's webinar is about volunteering. As you could guess from the title, of course, that's why you're here, to hear about volunteering, and certainly a timely topic with this being National Volunteer Month here in April, and then also this being the time of Alumni Global Days of Service, an initiative that we've offered here at the Alumni Association for about 7 or 8 years to get alumni together to volunteer in their areas to show the collective power of volunteerism and Binghamton pride and make us more visible in the areas where our alumni are present. So toward the end of the show, we'll talk about ways that you can get involved with Alumni Global Days of Service. They're happening throughout the month of April. Certainly not too late to get involved. So more on that to come. This is going to be a little bit different than the usual webinar that we have in terms of it's going to be less presentation based and more of a Q&A style between me and Josh Goldberg from the class of 18, who is our presenter for today. So I have questions for him, and I'm sure you'll have questions, and feel free to send those to us as a comment on Facebook or on the microsite. I'll pull up my email from time to time throughout the program, so that way you can have a chance to see it and send the questions in by email, sseepers@binghamton.edu. So start as early as you would like, and we can mix in the questions where it best makes sense to do so. So a little bit about our presenter for today, Josh Goldberg from the class of 2018, is a pretty active volunteer with the university, has been part of our Global Days of Service in the past. We'll bring him up here on the screen. He comes to us today from New York City. He has worked with Twill, formerly known as Happify Health, since January 2022. And rather than read a lot about his background, which is very interesting, I'll give him the chance to express it for himself. And so, Josh, thanks so much for being with us here today. And tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then we'll kind of dive into the dialogue about volunteering.
Yes, thanks, Steve. Happy to be here and to share some insights about volunteering. And for me, I'm from New York City. Went to Binghamton, graduated in 2018, studied math, and in terms of, throughout Binghamton, I discovered that I wanted to get involved in data and analytics, and that kind of brought me into the healthcare realm after graduating and being able to kind of uncover different insights from analyzing data across hospital and kind of within the user data world and different apps after graduating. And so that's kind of what brought me to Twill, and it's been really interesting to understand, how we can have different people playing games to improve people's mental health. And then I get to do a lot of cool data analysis on the back end to understand what those users look like. So that's kind of a little background to what I've been up to so far. And I've been pretty active with Binghamton and looking to share more about volunteering.
So I'm curious about how you got started with volunteering. At what age did you first get involved? And then what type of volunteer service were you engaging in?
Yeah, so when I first got started, I was pretty young. From my guess, I was probably around 8 or so. And back then, my mom was pretty active in our community. She really had us. She was involved in many different activities, and so she kind of got me and my brother to kind of join in for all the different things she was doing. So, for example, we would pick up food and then donate it to bring it to homeless shelters, especially during Thanksgiving. We would also pack different bags of food and then bring them to families that needed those items as well. That was on a consistent basis. And, it just through doing these types of activities with donating food or kind of, restoring parks, different kinds of nature-based and environmental other activities, it became something that was pretty common for our family to do, to just be a part of the community and want to give back. And so, I started off with more of these kind of food-based activities and donating food. And then since then, I've become a lot more involved in the environment and in many other areas of passion as well that we'll get into. And so I want to, help drive the passion to others to get involved as well. And if we are able to here, I'd love to dive into a poll to get a sense of who else has been involved in volunteering before and what that's looked like. So we have some slides here, which will help kind of support some of the things I'm going through. So this is just an overview about myself here. There's some information. And on the next slide, it'll jump to a poll. Let's pull this one up. All right, so for anyone who's in the presentation right now, if you have an iPhone, I believe, or I think any phone, you should be able to scan the QR code on the left. That should pull up the poll, and this is a picture of what it looks like. So it's a poll about volunteering experience, and pretty much just to get a sense, who has have you volunteered before, just to get a sense of what that data looks like. So I'll give it like 10 or 15 seconds here to for anybody to take the poll if you're on live. For anyone who's watching this on a recording afterwards, you'll be able to see the polls as well, but won't be able to vote live directly through them. But I will share the results from our data here.
So I went ahead and scanned the code and filled out the poll question. Have I volunteered before? Yes. And through a number of projects that, time permitting, maybe we'll talk about some because they make for some interesting stories. But I mean, I love the background of yours as far as getting started when you were young. And I feel like for kids especially, it's a great thing to introduce them to, because the typical model, and you think back to when you're in high school, you're in something like honor society, they say you have to get hours, and it's like, it's the difference between when you have to do something and when you want to do something. It's a very, very different approach to it. Or if you just do something and it's just second nature, it's just what you do. And so I have a son who's now about to turn 14 next month, actually. And so ever since he was maybe 7 or 8, had got involved in different volunteer projects with me and his mom, just because they were things that we did, and we'd bring him along, and we didn't really make a big deal of it, just made it seem like it's just what we do. And he's like, okay, volunteering is what you do, and it's fun. And so it's a whole different mindset, I think, that you get from it versus, something where it's attached to some sort of mandatory credit or some such thing. And that sense of choice or agency is maybe not as there, and it takes away from the emphasis of it being fun and being meaningful. It's a little bit of a different shift, I think. So how are we looking on the poll questions? And then I see we have another one here. I've got my camera ready so I can go ahead and scan when that next code is up.
Yeah, so we have a couple votes in here so far, and they're all yes. So we have
great,
a lot of volunteers in the audience today, which is pretty cool. So everyone can kind of, I think, relate a bit more to some of these things.
Very cool. So are we going to take a look at the next poll, or do you want me to just bring it down and we'll just keep going to the next question? So
yeah, you can pull up the next one, and then I'll go through it. People can start answering it while I'm answering the next question, and then we can get to it soon. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I have it up here on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and scan. I'm going to make this full screen. I don't think necessarily people need to watch me do that, but you and I continue to talk, and this is on here. So looking at causes. So tell us a little bit about what we have here.
Yeah, so this is looking at different causes, different events, basically the different types of categories that people can get involved in terms of volunteering. So there are many different types of volunteering opportunities. As I was just touching on, a lot of things that I did kind of when I was younger were in the kind of more hunger or like food realm. And then since then, there's been a lot of environmental opportunities I've been a part of. So these are just kind of some of the main areas which I'm curious to get a sense of who's been a part of different ones. And you can vote for multiple ones. And then afterwards, I'll show a chart that shows kind of what the breakdown looks like from some other research that's also been done.
I just answered the poll question. I think I checked all but 2. And it's not so much that I'm not interested in the two that I didn't check, but I just haven't had much exposure to those particular areas with projects I volunteered in, but probably over time we'll hit all of them. And I was going back over a very long period of time, even back to high school to now, which would be quite a long span, having done things that, from one-offs to things that take a longer time span to, you commit to several years in a volunteer activity, that sort of thing. So we'll let that poll question percolate and just kind of get to the next question just in terms of our Q&A, and just kind of curious on some of the things that a lot of interests have been displayed here on the poll question. Tell us about some of the projects that you've worked on over the years since having that early foray into volunteering with your family and helping the hungry. Where did it go after that?
Yeah, so definitely I volunteered with many different organizations. I was doing some calculating on my end beforehand, and I would say there are probably around over 150 different projects that I've been a part of to this point in my life so far. And some of the organizations which I really enjoy volunteering with the most, or have been a part of for the most activities, one of these organizations is called Hudson River Park. So we'll get more into kind of what that volunteering is like. But basically, at a high level, it involves a lot of kind of beautifying the park. So a lot of composting, gardening, horticulture activities, really being out in the park and just kind of making it better for the environment. So that's the park. Another organization is called Special Olympics. And when I'm volunteering with them, a lot of those kinds of activities involve kind of working with special needs kids and pretty much playing different sports and kind of helping them as they're doing these different sports. And that's great because I'm a big sports fan as well. So I really have that personal passion, which I'm able to kind of leverage alongside working with them. Another group that I've been a part of for different projects is called Rescuing Leftover Cuisine. So this organization is all about pretty much preventing food waste. And so whenever I'm volunteering here, we pick up food from typically from a bakery or restaurant around the city for any food that's not being consumed. And then we pretty much bring it and donate it to a different spot within the city. So typically when I do this, we donate between 100 and 150 pounds per project, which is pretty incredible. And this organization is doing these kinds of activities every day. There's a calendar online you can go through and check it out. So it's really easy to get involved with them too. And another kind of realm that I've also been involved with volunteering is here in New Jersey, a lot of volunteering within different Jewish organizations in the area. So for example, recently for some of the Jewish holidays, we were packing bags of food for the holidays and pretty much bringing those to different food shelters around the city for underprivileged families to have as well. So those are kind of some of the main project areas. I'll go into some of them in more detail, but those are just kind of some of the main ones I've been a part of so far.
Now, thinking about somebody being in the role of a would-be volunteer, they are eager to make a difference, want to get involved with something, but it's that first step that seems a little bit challenging or even maybe overwhelming, depending on the person. What do you recommend as far as how to just jump in and get started? Like, should we do some sort of a skills assessment, look at what is it that I'm good at? You had all these interests that were on the screen when we looked at that second poll question. And so should it be kind of looking at, what areas interest me? What do I feel like, and where can I make an impact? Should I do a skills assessment? Just where should we dive in to begin, I guess, is a good question. It seems like a lot of energy at the beginning that, we want to channel into something, and maybe it's a struggle in how to do that.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. There are so many different opportunities out there. It's kind of, pretty similar to as if you're looking for a job. There's just so many different things. It can be a process to figure out what the right match is. So, I mean, you were touching on there about like assessments to try to find pretty much areas that overlap with your passion. And so in terms of getting started, I did some research to see if there were certain types of quizzes people could take if you're, let's say, not sure where to get started. And there are a couple that I highlighted. We can actually jump to these in one of the slides here. Let me pop to one of these. going to bounce around a little bit. Okay, so here are these are pictures from two different volunteering assessments, which I was looking at. So the first one here, this is from an assessment called the Galaxy Digital Volunteering Personality. And basically, it asks different questions about what you're passionate about and kind of what types of activities you like to do to pretty much try to help match different opportunities that might be good fits for you. So you answer different questions, and then this will tell you kind of a personality style that fits with your interests. So you can see here, for me, for example, my result here was a hands-on activist, and this was very driven by activities that involved around the environment or being outdoors, kind of being hands-on and active, which fits pretty well with a lot of my passions. So that's the first assessment. And then another one people can take is through the American Red Cross. It's a similar kind of short quiz. You can kind of plug in your different passions, and then it will also find different matches for you. Some other ways that you can get involved too. There's some other sites I found of interest. So one is called VOMO, VOMO, that has some information around looking for opportunities. New York Cares also has some great information for people who are looking to get started. And then even there are some other interesting ways that I think people can get started in volunteering too. So one of them, in the same way I was touching on it earlier with like finding jobs can be very similar to the process of finding volunteering opportunities. And so in that sense, you can use LinkedIn to try to find good volunteering matches. So let's say, for example, that you want to find someone who's involved with a certain type of organization. We'll call it, let's say, UNICEF, for example. You can go into LinkedIn and pretty much search UNICEF, and then you'll have a lot of results that will show up with people who have volunteered, presumably with UNICEF. And then you can start to see what their details were like, their experiences, and then you can reach out to them to pretty much ask them more about what those experiences have been like. So LinkedIn is great as well. And then another cool way to find out about opportunities is through this, all the new technology that's going on. So this year, there's a data tool that some people might have heard of that's come out called ChatGPT, and it's kind of a artificial intelligence chatbot that can pretty much acts kind of like Google. It allows people to really filter through lots and lots of information. And so I was pretty curious just to get a sense, could ChatGPT try to help find a good volunteering opportunity? And so there's another slide I'll jump to here. I asked ChatGPT, could it try to find me some teaching opportunities? So let's say, for example, that someone was interested in teaching. This is a result if you just type in, what's a good volunteering opportunity if I love to teach? And then here are 5 different kinds of creative topics people can explore for what might be, areas of interest: tutoring, education, mentoring, other things like that. So, there are many, many different resources out there. It's all about kind of how people want to get involved and kind of what suits their interest best.
It's very cool using the chat GPT and see what comes up, and it actually works, because sometimes you get some mixed results with that, but this time it was helpful. And I think about a personal story, and before I get to that, I liked when you said that this is similar to finding a job, and just thought that was sort of escaping me as I was kind of going through that earlier question, is that the same skills and same assessments and same strategies you would use to find a job would be very helpful to find the right volunteer opportunity. Helpful to know what you're good at, what do you like doing, what do you not like doing, what are you not good at. Those are very helpful to sort out before starting to do really anything. But with volunteering and committing for any length of time, certainly that'd be very valuable. I had a situation a couple of months ago, actually almost a year, where the volunteer opportunity more or less found me. All I had to be doing was watching TV at the right place at the right time. And so there was an ad on one of the local news stations for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and they were looking for adults to be part of the program. And so one of the kids they talked about, they rolled through a little bit of his profile, and they said he liked bowling, and I like bowling. And I thought, if all somebody wants is to go bowling with somebody, once every couple of weeks or do things like that, honestly, in life, that's not a lot to ask for. So I felt really compelled to jump in. And at the same time, It sounds fun, but it's a heavy commitment at the same time. And I had to be willing and able to do it. They said, if we're going to match you up with someone for his own good, and we want to ask for a 1 year commitment. And I said, that's something I can do. Not everybody can. So I guess my next question would be, I have limited amounts of time available. What would be good volunteer opportunities for me? Some don't work as well. Like being a Red Cross volunteer and deploying to a disaster area is not good if you can't really spend a lot of time. So that's a very obvious no. But I'd imagine there are some things that would work if somebody is very, very busy and can't commit a lot.
Yeah, definitely. You make a great point there that I think a lot of people, when they're first looking at volunteering, I know I was in this spot when I was first looking at opportunities. I kind of envisioned something where I would need to dedicate a lot of time to really do this consistently, and just thought it was something that was kind of more of a longer term commitment. And there are really different types of opportunities that encompass, just a couple minutes at a time, hours, to things that are more like year on end, longer periods of time. So the nice thing about volunteering is that there are many different types of opportunities, and you can really find pretty much anything across any area. So, for example, a lot of the volunteering that I've done has kind of been more kind of like time blocked opportunities that go for like an hour or two at a time, let's say. And it's great because you get to find out, what the event is going to be like, and you're able to kind of, work your timing backwards, and kind of, you can go consistently if you want, or you can just go a little bit at a time. So for example, for the volunteering that I do with Hudson River Park, as I mentioned before, those are typically 3-hour sessions, pretty much on Saturdays, mostly during the summertime. So I know ahead of time going in how much I want to dedicate to just kind of like those different times when I'm there. And, you can know the schedule ahead of time. So it makes it pretty easy to figure out all those details kind of in advance. And a lot of the other opportunities that I've been a part of as well have kind of had similar timing. So rescuing leftover cuisine, this other one that I mentioned, that is similar. It's kind of like each different volunteering experience is pretty much about an hour or two as well. And a lot of different opportunities. It's pretty much like you can find things that are kind of an hour or two at a time. It just depends on kind of how much you want to commit to something, and how you kind of heard about it. So yeah, it's a great opportunity as you're finding these different kinds of roles to join. It's a great chance to kind of leverage, problem solving skills, and think about in your given area, wherever you are, what are some different components or things about, let's say, the city or area that might be the most of interest. Where can you add the most value to kind of your area, whether it's maybe they really need a lot of help cleaning up the city because trash is an issue, or maybe they need more education. It's a good chance to kind of put on your kind of context hat and see where you can have the most impact. So, to give a sense from a data perspective, I'm a numbers guy, and 1 in 4 Americans is a volunteer. There are over 1 billion people worldwide who volunteer each year. And in the US, each person on average donates over 52 hours of their time volunteering. So, people are very involved in volunteering. It's all about kind of where you see yourself fitting in. And I'll jump back here to one of the slides again about the value of volunteering. So just to touch on that further, these are some kind of like charts and images that I found, which show exactly how meaningful volunteering is for people who are kind of figuring out whether or not to get started. So you can see that this chart on the left is pretty much showing how much is a volunteer hour worth. And you can see that, looking across the past 2 decades or so, the value of that time has increased. And in the past couple of years, it's even increased at a faster rate. So for anyone who's kind of on the fence about volunteering or is not sure about the meaning behind it, you can see that it really is making a difference in people's lives. And, and even these different stats on the right, this is a metric from, a handful of years back, but it showed that even in 2014, volunteer time is worth, $170+ billion. So it really is making a difference in people's lives. And as we'll get into soon, it really does impact people in more ways than just kind of the time that they're spending there as well. So that's kind of a bit of an overview about time balancing and figuring out good opportunities.
It seems like that could be a good transition to talking about the benefits to you as the volunteer. And certainly we do this because we want to be unselfish and we want to give back and we want to make an impact and we want to see the value of what we're doing. But it also returns things to us. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Volunteering is it's a great way to be a part of a community, and it's a great way for you to gain many personal benefits. So I'll touch on a handful of areas that I feel like I have been able to personally gain through volunteering, and there are so many that it really couldn't even go through them all here. But basically, for when you're volunteering, the first thing that comes to my mind is kind of like, recognizing that whatever you're doing is making a difference in people's lives, whether or not you see it directly. And through those experiences with others, you can gain a lot of personal benefits. So for me, one of these areas that I've found a lot of value is around career and personal skills, so really like growth and development. And I'll jump to one of these slides here as well that touches on this a bit more. So in terms of career skills, volunteering is a great way to build out your resume by kind of just having different experiences, honing your skill set. So as I was touching on before, you can leverage some problem solving, critical thinking skills. For me personally, that's been a big impact in my life since I'm in the data and analytics realm. I've been able to apply my similar skills from volunteering directly to what I do. So this slide is kind of a couple different articles which either my company Twill has written or Binghamton, pretty much about my experience in volunteering and even in career development. So this story here on the left was pretty much a story that was just written recently about how the Fleischman Center has been able to really make a difference in Binghamton students' careers. And through my volunteering, I found out about different types of Binghamton engagement opportunities. And as I'll get into more, I've been a part of the Binghamton Bold Leadership Committee, which is kind of basically a group for alumni to be engaged and to promote continual Binghamton kind of engagement for alumni. So this article goes into a bit of detail about kind of how I personally have found the Fleischman Center to be helpful and volunteering and how those are all connected. So career and professional skills are definitely one main area that I've benefited from volunteering. Another area is around perspective. So when you're volunteering, it gives you an opportunity to kind of like take a step back basically and recognize that there are a lot of people who are less fortunate than we are. And so by kind of putting things into perspective, you're able to just kind of feel happier about your life, feel more fulfilled, and really fulfill this aspect of corporate value of social responsibility as well. So that's another area. Another kind of big impact of volunteering that people have probably heard about has to do with health and kind of like mental wellness. So I'll jump to another slide here as well around mental health. So some research has shown that 96% of volunteers have found volunteering to enrich their sense of purpose in life. So it really makes a difference in the way people feel. All these different stats here show that it lowers stress levels, it lowers blood pressure. I mean, it does everything that really helps people live longer. It helps your skin and everything. I mean, just the benefits that people get from volunteering go on and on. And some of these different images you're looking at here are actually through an article that Twill, my company, published, and you can dive into them in more detail if you want to understand some other metrics behind it. But they're all pretty cool ways to see, the impact mental health through volunteering. So this was on the bottom right. You'll see that the Journal of Health and Social Behavior looked at these 6 different areas to see how those were impacted by people who were volunteering, and pretty much across the board, you'll see that everything increased people's mental health, happiness, life satisfaction. So many different areas, and in the moment, I think when people are volunteering, they may or may not recognize how much value that they'll feel through volunteering. But the mental health that comes from that. When people give, you feel really good. It's a sense of being able, you feel like you're a part of your community. You feel like you are making a difference, and that really helps drive people's mental health. Um, so those are kind of some of the main areas that come to mind. And then one other area that I'll highlight as well has to do with social engagement. So I just touched on this alumni group I'm a part of with Binghamton called Bearcats of the Last Decade, which basically coordinates different alumni engagement opportunities. And through volunteering, I have heard about and become a part of so many different social organizations that I just never heard of before. So this is kind of a snapshot on the right of a handful of those different groups that I've been a part of. And, I've met so many different people. And the thing about volunteering is you never know who you'll meet. You can make friends, you can make professional connections. You might end up, you might find somebody else you're going to work for down the road. I mean, it's a great way to make friends or, find significant others as well. There's so much you don't know about until you meet people. And when you're in areas that you're passionate about, your odds are you'll find people that you have things in common with. And so, that can lead to something else. And that's how I've found many, many different kind of opportunities just through going to volunteering and taking part in things that I'm passionate about. So those are kind of, some of the main areas that I've found volunteering to be helpful with.
I did look at the slides to see the poll questions. There was not a poll question for, did you meet your significant other through volunteering? If there was, I have to check off yes on the poll. So I can attest to that as being an outcome, and certainly was not why I signed up to do the activity to begin with, but wound up being a great outcome from it. We talked about fit earlier and thinking about what it is that somebody feels that they can offer in terms of time and energy and skills and value, and ultimately, the rubber's got to meet the road somewhere, and you really don't know if you fit into something until you go do it. So what are some things that we should be looking for to get a sense of, is this working out or is it not? Sometimes things just kind of start slowly, then you're kind of like, I think we've all been in activities like that. You get into something, you're not sure if you're really, really liking it. It takes a while to really see, oh, this is great. I can't believe I thought about quitting this thing.
Yeah. I think when you get started in volunteering or kind of activities at first, it takes some time to figure out whether something is really a match or whether you're not sure. I think some of the things I just touched on with mental health benefits can apply kind of in reverse here as well in terms of finding fit. So for example, when you are in an activity that really gels well, or we feel like you're really connected, you'll be having a great time. You'll be having fun. You'll be meeting people. You'll feel fulfilled, and you'll feel like you're excited. You're excited to come back and to do that activity again, or to do more volunteering. And so, kind of the reverse holds true. If you're going to activities and you're leaving feeling, more tired or more sore or kind of more burnt out, maybe that's just not the right opportunity for you. I think it's really important that before you start looking at opportunities or things that you might find interesting for volunteering, that you kind of figure out what you're passionate about and where you feel like you would have a great time and want to make a difference. Because volunteering can be a lot of effort in terms of working with other people and the impact that you're making on other people's lives. You really want it to be something where you can personally connect, so that it serves fulfills on a more deeper level for everyone individually. So I think it's important that you figure out activities that you're passionate about. And as you're doing things that you find interesting, you'll typically find a good fit. So maybe you start with an activity, and maybe a couple months in, you realize that it's just not exactly what you wanted to be doing. Maybe there's a certain part of an activity that you really enjoy, but you want to be more involved in this other area. And by getting more engaged over time, that's how you can almost kind of create the right type of opportunity for yourself. So you can figure out, maybe I love working with kids, and maybe I love working on the weekends, and I love traveling from one place to another. And so you can almost kind of combine those different things together to create a good fit for what might be of interest. So typically, in terms of finding when something is working or isn't working, you have to kind of pay attention to how you feel. And that might take some time as well to really know when something is or isn't right. But it's great, especially when you're starting out, to kind of be conscious about that and to just kind of keep an open eye to how you're feeling, your energy levels, and kind of whether you feel like you're enjoying it. Because if you are having a good time, you'll want to keep coming back. You want to be engaged, and you'll find yourself probably talking about it to other people. But if you're not kind of finding it to be meaningful, there are many, many other opportunities out there. And so if you want to be involved in something, you'll be able to find something you're passionate about. It just might not be directly through that particular opportunity.
And some things are easier to see the impact than others. Say, I volunteer at a soup kitchen and we feed the hungry, and so you can see the faces around you, and it's easy to see the impact. Or you do a road cleanup, and so it's full of garbage in the beginning, and then at the end of the day it looks nicer, and so you see the impact there. And then you try not to focus on come back in a month and it'll be full of garbage again. You have to rinse and repeat. So yeah, I think to be patient is very important, and to something like if you're in a big brothers big sisters type of activity, it could take some time. It's just like building a relationship, and it's not going to be quick, just as it is with anyone. But if you only see them once every couple of weeks, it will take a while to really feel like. I think that's certainly a good reason to ask for the 1 year commitment, so you don't just jump ship after like 3 months. And really give it a you know give it your all and something like that. And I'm curious from your side, if you've seen much of a difference in volunteerism since COVID. And certainly COVID has changed the way a lot of things are being done. And um, in terms of maybe different types of volunteer opportunities emerging, or um, maybe agencies being a little bit less willing to take people on because we're not totally ready to go back to where we were, even though to a lot of people they feel COVID is over. Just curious what sorts of trends you've seen there.
Yeah, COVID has definitely made an impact on volunteerism. So it's interesting because for me, I probably became a lot more involved even in the past couple of years through COVID. I think at that time when it started out, I was really looking to kind of be more involved in the community, kind of at a deeper level, and really make a difference considering everything that was going on. And at the time, I think things were kind of in flux a bit, but volunteering was still pretty much going on kind of full speed ahead. There was some great volunteering that I was doing around the city, a lot of different food-based activities like City Harvest and a group called Grow NYC to really kind of try to get food to different people who didn't have it during the pandemic, and also working with different kind of medical groups as well. And I think as the pandemic started to kind of develop, at the time in the beginning, kind of volunteering was picking up because people were looking kind of for more help, but also given the way that things were health-wise, people were also pretty conscious and didn't really want to be outside too much or to be too active. And so volunteering has kind of dipped a bit since COVID started. I mean, I think we're starting to get to a point now where people are becoming more active again, but it did for the most part have an impact that brought people away from that. And so I think it's a great time for anyone who wants to be involved to now search for different kind of opportunities and fits, because there are more openings or kind of better chances now to be involved that maybe people hadn't seen before, just because a lot of opportunities might have been too busy or too full. So I think for anyone who is on the fence now or not sure about things, a lot of people who were affected by COVID in the beginning and wanted to be more kind of independent, things have changed since then. So now people are looking to be active again and looking to kind of really get out there and really meet other people. And so this is great. It's kind of like we're kind of past the point where people are kind of more kind of in their own places, and now people are looking to get out there again. So it's kind of changed a bit since COVID, but I think we're in a better spot now and probably will be going forward.
I know here at the university, we've always had these sort of distance volunteer opportunities because our alumni are everywhere and not everybody can come back to campus very easily. And we can't always get to them unless it's a place like New York City, which has a ton of alumni and is not too far from us here in Binghamton. But in trying to broaden our reach, we've really had to get creative about ways to engage alumni. And like with many other things, COVID was the accelerator for that to happen. So things that were talked about prior to COVID or things that we're offering now, since everything's gone virtual, it really forced us to increase the investment in those areas. And then now coming out of that COVID environment, we still want to keep them because you want to engage people that are just tough to pull it otherwise. So I'll just pull up that graphic again with our website address. And so should be one or two clicks off the homepage to find out how to volunteer. And certainly there are things like the distance mentoring opportunities in the program called Mentor Match. You can host students at your workplace if you live in New York City or in Washington or the Silicon Valley, where we do the Connect programs. So you don't have to necessarily be physically in person or come to Binghamton, although we would love to have you here. But at the same time, there are ways that people can get involved from anywhere. And not only are they meant to take advantage of location in terms of allowing people to participate from all over the world, but in realizing that people's time is precious and we have to fit into their lives and not expect them to fit into ours necessarily. So they have to be things that they can range from heavy time commitment, certainly, to things that are a little bit more of one-offs or just some short-term things, but they're just meant to get people involved with us, engaged, and like many other things, if you like it, you keep coming back for more, and you can deepen your commitment if that you feel is the right match for you. So check those out on the website when you get a chance. And we have a comment here that came from Chris. I'll just go ahead and read. He's watching us on Facebook. I'm helping the Alumni Global Days of Service. Thank you, because I'm going to come to that in a few seconds and talk about it. But also helping the undergraduate admissions office as an alumni volunteer, and there are events posted in the CCE directory, and CCE is short for the Center for Civic Engagement, which is a great addition to the university here. Has really grown a lot in the last couple of years, not only getting people involved politically, which is very important, is not necessarily in the scope of today's webinar, but also in terms of volunteering and making a difference in the community, just getting people involved and getting them out of their house and doing something that makes the world a better place to be. So CCE is certainly doing a lot of great work. And then Chris also writes, for a long time, it was based for me in the church. I've had challenges there where I'm not allowed to do certain events. So again, kind of some of the limitations in being in COVID and kind of coming out, with certain things that are off the table have remained off the table. And hopefully we'll be in a better place with that soon. But Chris, thank you for watching, and glad you're involved with us in all of those different activities. And so, in terms of distance opportunities to volunteer, the admissions volunteering is something that was offered pre-COVID and certainly never stops being important for us, where you can help recruit students from pretty much anywhere. A lot of it, of course, based in the New York City area, because so many alumni and students are there, but we have a need for that everywhere, and we want to be pulling in the best of the best from all over the country, all over the world. And so that has been a great way to get people involved with the university from wherever they are. And it's not time consuming either, and has allowed a lot of people to participate. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I won't read through everything, but you can link to this off of the homepage if you are so inclined. So this is the schedule for the group projects. We'll make this full screen. So Josh and I are still here, but we'll just hang behind the curtain, so to speak, while I just roll through this. So we have a couple of different group projects that are part of Alumni Global Days of Service. As I said at the start of the webinar, we introduced this about 7 or 8 years ago to get alumni together in a different way, something different than the networking mixers and homecomings, which are great. But this is something that we felt was important to try to bring alumni together to make the network more visible across the country, and then also to give back to communities and show the collective power of volunteerism, as we commonly say. So group projects are a very important way that this gets done, but we know not everybody's in an area where a group project can happen. So I'll talk about that angle next. So we have a few things here. The first two are food and item collection drives. So I'll skip through to we have a fence removal project Friday, April 21st here in Binghamton. So we'll go through, these are grouped by geographic region, and you can check these out on the website at your leisure. The American Civic Association has a project where you're working with donated goods. They're going to take what they have and move from one facility to another. So it's definitely a roll up your sleeves and may get a little bit dirty kind of project, but the work I think will be very, very fun. Spring garden cleanup. Certainly this time of year, you get a lot of the garden cleanups and outdoor type projects, and this is one of them. The animal shelter projects are always very, very popular. We have 2 of those coming up. Binghamton West Side cleanup, that's my neighborhood. Give a shout out to the West Side. We'll have the cleanup there on April 22nd, and then tree planting in Owego uh, on April 28th. And so New York City always has a number of projects. You can serve at a soup kitchen in Manhattan, be involved with a community gardens project in Brooklyn, park cleanup in Little Neck, Queens. This project on Long Island is always very popular, and the volunteer is dedicated to doing this with us every year. It's a beautification at the Long Island National Cemetery. So you talk about meaningful, impactful work, and the people who do this work feel very, very emotional about it, just because of the population that is served. Another garden project, this one on Long Island. So that's going to be actually in May. Many of these projects are happening later on in this month. There's plenty of time to sign up, and you can do that on the website. Some of them are full, but these are what we have going on. Westchester has 2 projects. So one is making items for animals at a shelter. One is supporting projects related to, one is a project supporting medical supplies, and the Ronald McDonald House in Albany will have a project later on this month. We have a few going on in DC. We have a very active alumni chapter. So Potomac River Cleanup, that one is full. DC Central Kitchen, Feeding the Hungry, that's always on the slate every year. And the volunteers are very, very dedicated to that. Same thing for the Share Food Program in Philadelphia, another repeat project. North Carolina's quite a few. So as you get the migration of Northerners in North Carolina, we've got a growing alumni base there. So we've got one project in Charlotte, one in Raleigh, one in Asheville, and one is a cleanup, and 2 are related to food banks. We've got a cleanup in California, got a food bank project in Arizona, and Feeding New Mexico. And we'll close it out there with pet shelter, landscaping in the state of Washington. So you can see that there's some common themes among the projects that we have in Global Day Service, where a lot of them are related to park beautifications, feeding the hungry, and helping animals. So those are 3 easy areas where I think it's, cute animals, and one that helps, certainly helps to get volunteers. Feeding the hungry, something where you make immediate impact and you see that in front of you. And road cleanup or park cleanup is pretty much needed almost everywhere. And those tend to be, very, very solid projects for us. So if you go to our website, just pull that banner up again. And so right on the homepage is a link for the Global Day Service. You can read more about it, sign up for a project. There's independent service opportunities. So if you're in an area where, let's just say you live in Montana or Idaho or somewhere else like that, and it's like, I don't have a chapter, I don't have a group project, I don't even know if there are any Binghamton people here. There are, trust me, there are other alumni. But it's harder to pull a group project together in some areas than others, and we certainly understand that and want everybody to feel included at the same time. So if you volunteer at all doing anything, let's just say you go and donate blood, or you go on your own to do the park cleanup or the dropping off supplies at an animal shelter, that you can go ahead and fill out this online form that we have on the website, and your effort can be included in Global Day Service totals, even if it's not part of the group project. So it's meant to be inclusive of everyone. Like I said, showing the collective power of volunteerism, whether that's in one of our dedicated projects or not, is not incredibly important to us. So we just want to get people to be involved no matter what. And you've mentioned the Hudson River cleanup, and so you've been a part of Global Day Service before. What did you like about it? Tell me about what you did and what you found meaningful about it.
Yeah, the Hudson River Park volunteering, I liked a lot of stuff about it. I mean, for one, the impact that we get to make is pretty incredible. I mean, it's the park is right along the like the highway and the water and everything, so people are biking by it all the time. I mean, you can literally, while you're in the middle of the volunteering activity, you can literally just kind of look along the bike path, and you can see people who are biking by, and it's so cool because a lot of people will stop from their biking and turn and just say like thank you, or this is so nice to see and everything. So you really get to see the impact of what difference it's making right there. You're another great thing is that because it's environmentally based, there was one time where we were planting tulips in the around the park, and we basically planted them and then had the chance to come back a couple months later and see all those different ones that we all the bulbs that we had just put in. So again, it's great to see kind of how they've changed over time, and to just look at the area kind of before you're there, and the impact that you're making. You can see how it changes over time. You also get to meet many people. I actually got started with Hudson River Park through Binghamton's Alumni Global Days of Service a couple of years ago, and through some other Binghamton grads who were also a part of it as well. And so, it's been a great way to really beautify the park. Also, you get to see how you get to understand more about how does the park do different activities like composting, gardening, kind of everything that goes into that. It's cool to understand in more detail. You get to go to different areas in the park and see kind of the environment, understand more about like animal ecosystems and everything, as well as they have some fresh fruit in different areas you can try to. So I feel like I'm really able to make an impact in the environment. It helps, people love, just being a part of nature, socialization. That's been one of the main reasons that I've really been a part of that for so long, and really enjoy it. And so I think I look forward to getting back out there, and hopefully can inspire people to join and find other similar activities like that too.
So I'm curious from your experience, if there are, I hate to call them mistakes, but maybe traps is a better word. I'm not really sure, but things that new volunteers, first timers do that maybe don't really get them into the right opportunity, or kind of get them spun in the wrong direction, like maybe signing up for too many things at once, and sort of like it's not quite like when you're a student on campus, you sign up for one activity and another, and even that becomes overdoing it after a while. But I'm just wondering if it's a common trap to maybe pick too many things at once and find that you're spread too thin, or maybe just not do your homework enough. So you're into something, find that you're really not all that passionate about it, or it just doesn't match up well with you in some other way.
Yeah, all the points you said there are definitely are things that I can resonate with. I mean, I know for me personally, one of my biggest challenges, both in volunteering and even in my career, has just been sometimes, you want to make such a difference that you want to sign up for so many different types of things, and it just can be a lot to kind of balance everything at the same time. And it's great when you have so many different, let's say, opportunities that you want to be a part of. You love volunteering with this group and that group, and it's just so much fun that you just kind of keep getting involved in each one and going back continuously. And that's great. At the same time, one of the things that I've personally learned or realized is just that sometimes it's best to kind of find the areas that you're most passionate about, and where you can really commit yourself and dedicate yourself to making an impact, and kind of giving your energy and focus to those areas. And maybe you rotate through a couple areas over time, but doing too many things at the same time can be a lot at one point, to just kind of keeping your energy levels in check. And so I think having a couple of main areas can make a big difference. Another kind of lesson that I feel like I've learned is just recognizing when you, let's say, might want help or might be a little bit stuck in an activity. So, I mean, even for me, just going back to the Hudson River Park activity, like when I first got started, I really was not the greatest expert with kind of how gardening works or anything like that in more detail. I just wasn't as used to it. Growing up here in New York City, not too used to all these kinds of things. And so when I was first getting started, I really asked a lot of questions to understand more about, what are different types of weeds, and how do you take them out of the ground? How do you do this? How do you do that? And so I think for me early on, when I was starting in my career and just with volunteering opportunities, sometimes I would be, let's say, hesitant to ask for help at certain points where understanding a process or a step in more detail can really, expedite your process, make it that much easier to kind of, let's say, do better in an activity, or even to just contribute to how much you like an activity. So for anyone who's kind of involved in something and isn't necessarily sure about whether they're doing it right, or kind of how to, be as engaged as possible, don't hesitate to ask the leader for more guidance or more information about kind of what that process looks like. And I think it'll really, make a big difference in kind of your experience.
I tend to be one of these let's fill up the plate kind of people, and then I'm like, oh no, there's too much. And because many times you don't want to turn down an opportunity if somebody asks, or something looks really interesting, and say, well, I want to try it and see. And And so I got in that situation a couple months ago in an interesting conversation at home where I was asked, what will you give up if you do this new thing? And I'm like, it stops you in your tracks because you really then have to be faced with the reality of there's only so many hours in the day. And so you add this, and it may make you worse at doing something else. And that's probably not what you want. So I did something, and I found it helpful. And if something different helps somebody else, that's great too. Where I took a Post-it pad and I put them all over my desk, put the stickies. And so each activity was a sticky of its own. And then I had to rank order and say, if I had to give up something, what would it be? But before I could answer that, I wrote down how much time I was putting in and a numerical score of how much I liked it or how much I felt I was impactful or what it gave back to me. And so the things that were going to be the lower value would be more or less on the chopping block. And the thing was that like I was super passionate about and I loved and couldn't do without, well, we're not going to do without them. We're going to keep them and then to get rid of something else. So, and although I didn't wind up doing the new thing that required me to get rid of something else, and I kind of kept the current mix, it was a uh, good way to keep in check to see, is this mix really working for me? And if something really isn't returning value, then go find the thing that is going to, because then you'll be happier and the people that you're working with will be happier. And if you can make more of an impact, and that to me is what it's about. Not always about did I have a good time, like hopefully I do, but if I feel the people around me were made better as a result of the experience, then I try to let that color my perception more than maybe how I may personally feel about something if I had a negative takeaway for some reason. So we're coming up about 5 minutes to the top of the hour. So I just wanted to ask if there are some other things that you wanted to share that would be helpful for people that are in the position of trying to find something that would work for them, and figuring out their interests and talent and where the best fit is, and is it working, and then kind of reassessing whatever it is that's part of their engagement journey with wherever they're giving their time and attention to.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll pull up one of these slides here about some of the different organizations that I've been a part of. Just for anyone, some of these apply a bit more directly to people who are kind of in the New York City area, but even just in general. Let's see. So these are a handful of organizations. I've pretty much listed off almost all of them so far. But for anyone who's, let's say, not sure about where to get started, just if you're looking for different things to do and you want some guidance from some things that I've been a part of, these are some of my favorite organizations that I've been active with. And on the right, you can see the top one is Rescuing Leftover Cuisine. And then the second one is Hudson River Park. And the third one is Music for Autism, which is a music special needs group as well. So these are just a couple hands-on direct examples. And for anyone who's kind of not sure about where to get started or kind of like how to figure that out, another great thing you can do is just like talking directly to your friends, other people coworkers about what they've been involved in. It's a great way to just continually have more conversations with people, as well as just finding out different recommendations from what people have been a part of. That's honestly how I found out about a lot of these different groups. Typically, I got involved in one thing, and then that led to hearing about another one, and now I have spreadsheets on spreadsheets of different organizations that I've found which have some interest to me, and a lot of different opportunities I've been a part of. But even if I haven't been there, I have friends who go for me, and then I exchange insights with them about what they're like, and collectively can get a better sense of what each different thing is like overall.
I think it's a great point to close on, and the importance of networking, just as with a job. And so we talked earlier about the strategies being very similar to applying for a job, and skills assessment and search strategies and things like that. And networking would be a very important part of a job search, but certainly talking to friends to get a sense of what are they involved in, what do they like, what have they tried, what has been positive, what has been not so positive, and kind of making some decisions from there. And if you see your friend talking about something they light up, that's a hard thing to not pay attention to. And you say, wow, they get so excited about doing the whatever. It really makes you think about, is that something I could be interested in, and to possibly try that out. So that's certainly that's a great piece of advice. Josh, thank you so much. It's been a fun hour to talk about this, and it's always great to hear stories of people doing things that they're passionate about and putting great energy back into the world and hopefully inspiring others to do the same. And this recording will be up and we'll send it out to alumni next week through the newsletter and hopefully expanding the reach of this so that we're encouraging more good to happen in the world. So thank you for everything you do for us here at the university as well through your service on the Bold Leadership Council and Global Leader Service. And I certainly appreciate it and appreciate the time you spent with us today.
Definitely. Thank you for having me and happy to share these insights.
And thank you so much for joining us. And we have some webinars that are going to be happening later on this month for the Binghamton Success Week. And then we have our tier talk that is scheduled for May 16th on the current trends in the New York City housing market. The program is called A Place to Call Home, a critical look at the New York City housing market. That's coming up on Tuesday, May 16th at 6:30 p.m. Registration is open for that. And one more time before we close out for today, there's our website address, binghamton.edu/alumni. You can go on there and find the links for Global Days of Service. Please get involved with that. The links for Tier Talks and Binghamton Success Week and much, much more. So for Josh Goldberg, I'm Steve Seepersod. Have a great rest of the day. See you next time on the Binghamton Learning Network.